Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clyde Sharadi, and welcome to this edition of African Knowledge here at African Media Australia. Through this platform, we talk about things that are of importance to the African Australian community. We provide a platform to members of the African Australian community to talk about things that they know, their insight, their wisdom, everything that is important. And from time to time, like today, we'll also talk about current affairs, and we give people opportunity to share their views. So I want to say thank you for all those of you who are watching. And later on during the show, in the second part of the show, I'll be having Juma Piripiri, who's a prominent member of the African Australian community in Tasmania. And he'll be telling us, he'll be talking to us about the community out there. But right now, let's just talk about two topics that are of significant importance right now, especially for African Australian communities in Victoria and Melbourne. As you know, there's been quite a number of protests that has been taking place in Melbourne in relation to the mandatory vaccination. And a lot of people have been in the street, construction workers, and apparently other members of the community. They say there are neo-Nazis and other right-wing protesters were all coming together to protest in relation to the mandatory vaccination in the construction industry. So I think, this is something that is actually of importance for all communities in Victoria and African Australians in particular. There are a lot of African Australians who work, for example, in the health industry. There are also those who work in as trades and in many other industries. So the mandatory vaccination is actually quite a controversial issue. Obviously, we understand that people would like to be able to. I mean, the government is wanting people to do what they think is necessary to try to control the pandemic. However, the decision to mandate vaccination is one that is raising a lot of issues in the community. Some people do not feel that it is the government right to make it an obligation for people to put a vaccine in their body if they have reservations in relation to that, because obviously vaccine is not 100% safe. It is apparently very safe because a lot of people are taking it, but there are also other people who have suffered very significant adverse effect. And some people have reasons or reservations or concerns in relation to the vaccine safety. It has been developed with quite a bit of speed, and the long-term consequences of the vaccine are not yet known. Yet there is a pandemic that needs to be controlled, and one of the ways to I suppose, provide people with some ways of minimizing very adverse effect of this pandemic is to get vaccinated. Here at Africa Media Australia, we are not pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. That's not our role. Our role is simply to put these issues on the table and to tell people to take the decision they think is best for their health. That is the position we're taking. Some people are comfortable with taking vaccine. This should be a very personal type of decision that people have made for themselves and their families, and ultimately the community large. So a lot of people don't have any problem with taking the vaccine. They think that that's a way to protect them, to protect their families, and protect the community. That is very good. Other people feel that there are still quite a lot of unknowns in this vaccine, or they have other objections of different types, and they are entitled to have those objections. And if they feel that they shouldn't take a vaccine, I don't think anybody should force people to take a vaccine. Obviously, the government has not said everybody must take vaccine. They are putting a condition that if you want to keep your job, you must be vaccinated. That is very close to making it mandatory, because obviously for people who want to keep their jobs, to be able to keep their financial revenue or income for their families, they sort of feel they have no choice but take the vaccine, and that's where the problem is coming. So we'll just watch obviously a little bit of the protest in Melbourne that many of you have seen happening in Melbourne. We have some photos there from ABC.
Melbourne
Just watch a little
streets
bit of
have
that.
become a battleground of COVID ideologies. The catalyst for the protests, which started yesterday, was a decision by the state government to mandate COVID vaccinations for construction workers.
The construction industry must take this opportunity to reset and to restart the industry. We cannot simply go back to the way things were being conducted. Broad-scale non-compliance across the industry that was constituting a threat to public health in the most dramatic of terms.
In response to the protests, the government stood down thousands of construction workers across Melbourne and parts of regional Victoria overnight, unable to work for 2 weeks. The divisive decision is the latest attempt to curb growing COVID case numbers in the industry.
We put the industry on notice, you'll recall, a week ago that we needed to see a substantial improvement. Since then, we've seen poor compliance and further transmission sites being identified, and that just cannot continue.
Compliance has been a very small issue. Most sites are pretty compliant.
Health authorities said half of the construction sites it inspected failed to meet COVID safety requirements. Out of 6,000 active COVID cases across Victoria, 337 are linked to building sites. While the CFMEU encourages its members to get vaccinated, it doesn't want to see jabs become mandatory.
I've said all along, our union, our building industry group of unions has said all along, we do not support mandatory vaccinations. We support people's choice.
Union Secretary John Setka claims the violence isn't coming from his members and blames so-called professional protesters.
There was a small contingent of our members there, but the vast majority of them were like people I don't know, like from neo-Nazis to all these extreme, just professional protesters.
But there's now a public debate about the extent these protests are driven by union members or anti-lockdown activists.
Anyone who looks at the footage can see there's not a Nazi symbol anywhere in that crowd.
I've seen on right-wing groups, they're moving this. I'm a tradie, I'm fully vaccinated. To me, they just come across as just uneducated and just scared. They're idiots, sorry.
It'd be...
Okay, those are pictures and videos from ABC, courtesy of ABC, just to give you a bit of a picture on what is happening in the state of Melbourne. I mean, in the state of Victoria and in Melbourne in particular. So we're encouraging you, if you're watching, if you want to say something about the protest, which is also linked to mandatory vaccination, we do encourage you to call. If you want to call, if you want to speak via phone, we would encourage you first to send us a message on this number. And when we're ready, we will be able to organize to call you and to have you on air. I know there are a few people already that have made themselves available to make comments on this issue. And it's important. We're wanting to encourage communities and individuals within the African Australian community to be able to have a say on important topics that are in the public sphere. A lot of times, you know, what I've seen in the community is there's a lot of fear. People don't want to speak, and I understand to some extent. But if you really fully want to participate in the advancement of democracy in this country, you ought to be able to, express yourself. Australia is a country where there is freedom of speech, even though that freedom is actually unfortunately being corroded by many of these things that we're seeing lately, especially in relation to the corona virus. And we're having a divided society of the vaccinated and anti-vaccinated, and this is just going to continue to manifest. So it's important for members of this community to be able to express themselves, to say what they think, say it with respect, say it with consideration, but nonetheless say it. And that's what we're trying to get people to get into that habit. You know, many of us have come from countries where governments have been really very sort of harsh on citizens, so people have not really been used to speaking their mind. But in Australia, you can speak your mind. You can say what you think on any number of issues that you may not necessarily agree with. So I'm going to see if I can start taking some calls to get people to say what they need to say. I just need to put my thing so I can be able to hear what they say. We'll speak to our first caller and hear what they say.
Willie speaking.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Willie. My name is Clyde, and I am at Africa Media Australia. Just calling you in relation to you expressing your views on what is happening now with the protest in Melbourne and the mandatory vaccination. If you can say something about that, whatever comes to your mind.
Oh yeah, thank you for your call. Glad I will say, yeah, I support the people demonstrating simply because when they started this vaccine, they said it won't be mandatory. Then we knew that they are going to change their decision. They are going to put it mandatory. But they pretended as if it won't be mandatory. Then suddenly, from nowhere, they've started saying they are giving people in 2 weeks and 1 week, and you have to get the vaccine. Otherwise, you are going to lose your job. What is this? What is this? This is dictatorship. We always have vaccines here, flu vaccine, different type of vaccine. But why COVID-19 vaccine must be mandatory, and why COVID vaccine should be, around the COVID vaccine, there is so many pressures, and why? We don't understand. We don't understand. When we ask them, when we are asking, is this vaccine gonna protect us from COVID-19? They say no. They are not sure. But at least they want us to get the vaccine. So they should leave people now to process this and see whenever they are going to feel free to get the vaccine. They cannot just push people to get the vaccine. I don't think this is fair, Like some of us who come from third world countries and where, we lived under the dictatorship. This is exactly what we lived years ago, and this is what I'm saying today. Yeah.
All right. So
do you think all the people are not conscious?
No, I was going to say, you think the government is sort of going too far in
they
this?
Are pushing. They are going too far. This is exaggerating. This is exaggerating.
And
they're not supposed to push people.
What do you think this will have? This will be the impact on? Because I know there's a lot of Africans who work for example, in the healthcare industry, and there are also those who work in the construction industry, or even in other industries, and not just Africans, but many other communities. And there are people who have valid concerns about the safety of the vaccine, and they're sort of going to be pushed to have it. Or lose their job. What do you think about that?
This is exactly what I'm saying. This is unfair. They should not push people to that level, to that extent. In other way, I'm saying this like they don't want people to think. They are stopping us to think. Let's be reasonable on this. when the vaccine came out, when it was released, there are so many videos in social media. They are talking about the vaccine, their side effects, and all these things. So that we cannot just embrace it blindly and say that what people are saying it's wrong. Here in Australia, I saw the senator debating with the Health Council. They are asking them questions about the vaccine. The answer that they were giving, I was, then I said, why are we having this? And I never expected to see a country like Australia and people are uncertain, then they are just going ahead with something that they are not sure about. This is something really, I don't really understand that. Huh?
Okay, and what do you think is going to happen now overall for those people who are going to be losing their job? What sort of message do you want to give both to the government and to the members of the community?
I think the fire is lit, so we need to fight up to the end. That's what I would say. I think we have to fight. We have to fight.
Okay.
Yeah, we are in a democracy. Okay, if I refuse to get a vaccine, for instance, so I'm the one who is in danger. So if I'm dead, what is the problem there?
They would argue that
Come on.
you will not be the only one who will be dead. You may also kill other people in the process, and that's why they're wanting to do that.
We are in lockdown here. We are under lockdown for how long? But the number of infected people are still increasing. So what is the need of lockdown?
Okay.
Yeah.
We do understand your opinion, and we appreciate you taking the time to voice that on Africa Media Australia. We thank you very much, and keep watching our programs, and we'll be more than happy to have you next time for more.
Oh, thank you very much, Clark.
Thank you. Have a good
night.
If
I'm trying to be so rude.
No,
okay.
That's all good. In fact, here at Africa Media Australia, we are free. We want people to speak their mind. We're not. I know there's a lot of people in the community who are afraid to speak about this topic. Some because they want to protect their jobs, others because they're just not comfortable. But I think we need to be able to say what we think because we are part of this community, and democracy needs different views to be able to be strengthened, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you so very much. I don't think we are in democracy. No,
we are losing. We are losing a little bit of our democratic rights. That's what you mean.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Maybe we'll have another discussion on the state of democracy in the West and in Australia in particular, and we'll invite you to discuss that as well.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Zawili, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, that was one of African Australian community members who has expressed his view in relation to COVID. We remind you, if you are watching and you want to be able to speak, just contact us. Send us a message through this number that will be displaying on the screen, and we will be able to call you and give you time to speak. You can message us either by text message or WhatsApp. Let's see if we can get another contributor who may have to say something. We're just trying to call him now. Oh, the call is failing for some reason. Okay, looks like they are not picking up the phone. So we will proceed. Actually, not be able to disconnect the call. Okay, the call has been disconnected. Reminding you, those you're watching, it's just a bit of conversation and a bit of a discussion, really, in relation to the mandatory vaccination. We're encouraging members of the African Australian community to express their views, to say what they think, and participate in this debate. There's a general debate that is happening in the media, whether it's on television or newspaper, where a lot of people, and on social media, obviously, where a lot of people are saying, are speaking their mind, some encouraging vaccination, others who are against vaccination. What sort of effect, first, what sort of opinion do you have, and what do you think will be the effect of mandatory vaccination for people who may not necessarily feel comfortable or have concerns with the vaccine on many grounds, even some objection, including religious objections, because that's also part of the reason for some people. Those people will be forced to lose their jobs and have no income. What do you think that will create? If you want to speak, give us a call on the number. Send us a message on the number that is displayed on the screen, and we will be able to speak to you, or to bring you live on air to speak. We again remind those who may not have watched the first part. When we started, we're saying at Africa Media Australia, we don't take an official position pro or anti-vaccine. We think it's up to people to make that decision individually, to decide whether they want to be vaccinated or not. There are a lot of benefits, especially for those who have some vulnerable issues in terms of their health, those who may have other issues in their health, to actually be vaccinated, because it may protect them. And overall, vaccination is a good thing for those who believe in it, but those who have objections or reservations also have the right not to be vaccinated if they don't want to. It shouldn't be a country where people are being forced in order to keep working to be vaccinated, especially because of the fact that the vaccine itself doesn't give immunity. It means you can still not only pass on, you can still transmit the disease, and you can still be infected even if you are vaccinated. And some double vaccinated people are not only suffering, but some of them are also dying, just like those who are not vaccinated. So it's deeply individual issue, but there shouldn't be any sort of push for people to have to vaccinate. I think as long as people can do the right thing, trying to protect themselves and others, and have a regular a regular test to check whether they are not infected or not. If you're infected, you isolate. If you suspect you're infected, you isolate yourself. You can do tests every week, every 3 days, if you're working in an environment where people, you are in contact with many people, and you want to make sure that you're not passing on the disease. Okay, we're going to be going into the second part of this show, which is an interview that we're going to be having with Jama Piripiri, who is from Tasmania, and he's a leader of that community over there, and we want to talk to him about what is happening in Tasmania. But we're just going to take a little commercial break, and we'll be right back. Okay, sorry. It looks like I was muted. It was me who was muted, and I didn't realize what has happened there. So, Mr. Jamal Piripiri, good evening. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'll just bring you on the screen. There it is. Technology has its problem. I don't know why. For some reason, I got muted, and I was thinking you were the one that was muted. Anyway, please introduce yourself. We know you live in Tasmania, in Hobart, isn't it? And
I live
you
in
are a member
Launceston.
of the community out there. You are a prominent member of the South Sudanese community, but you also work with a broader African Australian organization, and you also run a small business in Tasmania. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Absolutely. Thanks for hosting me. This particular, I think it's a great honor to be with you at this show. My name is Juma Periperi. Originally born in Sudan. Now the country is South Sudan, but all those events unfold when I'm already here in Australia. So I came here in 2006 and have been pretty much living in Tasmania. So to me, Tasmania is a home. That's why I would like to do more for our community to make sure that whoever comes here feel welcome and supported. And that's the spirit that we continue to build. So I've been involved in a various capacity, the early stages of the community, as a spokesperson, as a secretary. I was secretary for the local Sudanese community for 6 years. At the same time, was heavily involved in also development of African Community Council in Tasmania, as well as connecting with also other African communities across Australia. I've been involved in a multiple number of events that we attended, and I met several other people from African descent in Sydney, Melbourne. There was a great time, obviously, to connect with people back at home. So I enjoy doing the work of the community. So far, I'm the current chair for the Sudanese community and also the current chair for the African Community Council of Tasmania. I do also hold other roles, but I think it's for people to find that out more. But I'm here to share with you some of the greatest things that we do here in Tasmania. Tasmania,
Yes.
obviously, if you haven't visited, I would encourage you to visit. It's a very nice place. Since the lockdown, we only had one lockdown, which happened last year. Since we came out of it, we didn't really have any single case, which is really a great news. Life for us here continue as usual, except most recently, people working in a hospital setting, they were required to wear some masks, but life continue as usual. So it's a great news. And also the community is quite doing well. A lot of people who are here, they are feeling more comfortable. I was talking to one of my other colleagues, he's from Kenya, and I asked him, he was in New South Wales previously, he moved here about a year ago. I asked him what it's like to be here. And what he told me was he described Tasmania as a paradise. So this is a very classical example of the greatness of things that we do here. So I would encourage people to come here. We've got a great sense of community spirit.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, I remember a couple of times, actually, I planned to visit Tasmania, but every time there was something else that prevented me from going. Because I had a friend who was living there, was telling me about the beauty of the land, and everything is sort of slows down a bit compared to Melbourne and Sydney and all that sort of thing. I haven't had a chance to visit, but now that you remind me of that, whenever we out of lockdown, and God knows when that will happen, it may be in 2053. That we'll be out of lockdown. I may want to visit Tasmania. Now, tell us about the community out there. Who I know there are people, African Australians from various ethnic background, but which particular ethnic background has the most amount of population? Who are the majority?
Look, we do. I mean, traditionally we have communities who would have come here a long time. I mean, there are two categories. There are people who come here as a skilled migrant who would have come to work and professional capacity, and there are also other segment of community members who came under the humanitarian program. So therefore, I think that continued to be the case. But however, that kind of scenario changed quite recently. We normally, I mean, when I came here back in 2006, we used to see quite a big number of people from, we used to have a Sudanese, we used to have people from Sierra Leone, people from Liberia, people from other community, which is not many. I think those are the most community that I used to see from time to time. But then that sort of changed a little bit. Then we, in late 2010, probably 2009, 2011, 12. So I used to see a lot of, professional people from Nigeria, people from Botswana, people from Ghana, people from Zimbabwe. So they're quite different mix of people. So to talk about the African community, so the African community constitutes of various community. We have like a Zimbabwean, we have a Kenyan, we have a Ugandan, we have a Nigerian. David Ono, who is a local GP here in Tasmania, he is the current chair of the Nigerian community. We also have other colleagues that I have known them for quite a long time. We become like a family. Every time there's an event, there's always familiar faces. So the community this time, people have matured, people felt the need of community, and there's actually that appetite for the community spirit to continue to develop. So far I'm the chairperson, and we've got I think the vice is from Sierra Leone, and the board members, they consist of all those African community, which make it more inclusive in a way that we want to represent all our boys. So we are going through a transformational process to replicate some of the things that hasn't been done. So far, we have earned the trust of working together as a group, which was one of the most difficult things to do. And I'm very excited to see actually this happen at this particular time. So we've got a few projects in mind, and we wouldn't mind very soon to let you know that this is the most exciting. Initially, we planned for African Day, which seems to be well supported by all the department. We also assessed the situation carefully with the restriction and other things to say, no, this is something that we really need to plan properly. So we determined, and then we decided to depart it probably to, early next year or later next year. Depends how the weather will go. But the community is doing well. One of the things that we're also doing at the same time is also building the connection from government and also non-other government organization to be able to work effectively. I guess the main goal for us is really to work together and also do some of the things that other people are doing for us for a very long time, because we do have a lot of expertise among ourselves. And I think we need to earn that trust to be able to provide that kind of professional level of support that otherwise other people would have been the one providing us. I guess this is what the community is all about. If you look across all the other communities across Australia, there is one thing that always, they provide either services to themselves or they provide support to themselves. I think this is something that we as the African community, I felt very strongly that we have been, to some degree, we've let ourselves down by not actually working cohesively. And I think it's about the right time that we, define this formula and actually use it wisely to be able to empower ourselves, someone like yourself, to be promoted widely and host regular show for people who are doing a lot of creativity, creative things in our community who inspire others. I think those stories are not actually realized, a lot of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, what are some of the challenges that the African Australian community in Tasmania have been facing? If you can name a couple, and give us a bit of a picture of the challenges and the opportunities. Maybe you guys, as your friend said, you're living in paradise, and the rest of us are not aware of it. Maybe we should be coming down there. Those are opportunities. But what are some of the challenges?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I would like to reflect on the journey that I took. I think it may not only be a case for Tasmania, but I think this is a general phenomenon that we continue to experience. A lot of people, we don't trust ourselves, to be honest. This is one of the biggest problem that we continue to have. I think that kind of break or tear us into pieces, even if we have people who have the heart to lead the community and bring all those quality projects into the community to benefit the community members. They were always met with a lot of resistance from some members who may otherwise feel threatened that, this will be taking away their right from doing other things. Of course, we're not undermining those small communities that exist. I mean, we know that Africa is a continent, got 54 countries, and we respect all our cultural heritage and the richness and the diversity that we all bring together. But if we put that together, I think we'll produce something very, very, very strong that we would actually be proud of, all of us. This is one of the area that I personally feel that lack of trust is a big factor that is actually influencing our failure in terms of community or governance, and also putting better structure, because surely we all have people with a doctorate, people with all those expertise that you could go and find anywhere else, but we don't trust them. Now, even who are we going to trust? The same people that sometimes we go and seek help from them, they don't have those expertise. Now, the question is, you keep asking, who are you going to trust? Do we want to wait until when Jesus comes? That's when we start trusting our own brothers, that this is a capable and able person who may help us and actually lead us. I think this is a story that need to be reinforced more in terms of governance, and also how we work together in following or respecting the structure that any of us as a colleague put together. It is hard work, but it's sad to actually be dismantled for no reason. I think if we want to make some reservation, I think we can make amendment and make it better on what has already been built. I think for me, that's really what I would like to see happening here.
Okay. And in terms of what people are doing there, the members of the African Australian communities, you mentioned there's quite a lot of professionals that have arrived in Tasmania.
Yeah.
And there are also people obviously from a refugee background, but I suppose you're saying you're trying to bring the cohesive community together through the organization. Is it the African Community Council that what's the name?
What has happened is, I mean, this is a historical information in the context of the council. I think the council previously was led by expatriate. I would describe this way.
Yeah.
And some people who came as a refugee here, they feel like, oh, this person will not understand my problem because I've got people who have been prosecuted. They still refugee came. How would this person best represent my views? I think these are obvious issues that would emerge anywhere in any structure. But I think what we're trying to do is that regardless of what issues each of us or each individual is experiencing, we have a common problem. Our common problem is that we've got the families here, we've got the children here to raise, and all issues that may think about home, they're not going to be real issues that they'll care about it. How about we think about them as a priority here and establish what support that they would require for us to work cohesively together and build that structure for them. Of course, there will be other matters that may be pertaining to home affairs. I mean, these are individual issues, again, that may not predominantly be concerning, the large population of our community. But of course, everyone care about things that matters to them. I think this seems to be the point of difference. But I think now people have lived here for a few years, and I think that perception is now start to evaporate. That's why people start to become more mature. That's why I referred earlier that there's a sense of maturity, and people now start to think wisely that actually we've spent all this time here, we haven't done anything. If we had done something by now, some of the initiative that are being led by other agencies, we could have been the one leading it. And they said, well, opportunity will never come to you unless you pursue it and also work hard to achieve it. Otherwise, you will continue to see this story. Unfortunately, things are changing rapidly. If you let one opportunity slip up, you're not going to get this opportunity again in a lifetime. I think this is one thing that we should remember always. Yeah.
Okay. And tell us about how you work with the government. We know all over Australia, there's a lot of willingness from various levels of government. Local
Yeah, we've
government,
been in
state government.
Yeah,
How does
I've
that
been
work with you
involved.
guys?
Yeah, I've been involved mainly around advocacy around African matters. I think I've spoken a lot about this notion of African gangs, and then the kind of downgraded to Sudanese gangs in Victoria. I spoke explicitly about this issue, and I sort of say, look, this is individual issue. I've never seen a well organized structure of gang members who are actually capable of carrying gangs activities. These are individuals who are otherwise struggling. They need support, and it's very sad to see that people have been labeled in media. But I would be interested actually to see that the government is coming to the community and work together and define a solution. Because at the end of the day, they are not people that are coming from anywhere. They are citizens of this country. Therefore, they should be treated like any other equal citizen. And one of my arguments I always refer to is that crimes are being committed every day. And those crimes are not committed by one ethnicity. They are committed by large number of the crimes. They're committed by, different group of people. Therefore, I think if you are going to define crimes, then we need to be, we need to be equally in justifying those claims. So that's one of the issues that really stood very strongly in my time, and I will still continue. I've written to Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull at the time, and the opposition leader as well. And I've also written to a lot of, some senators have made some submission to the Senate committee about those issues to be looked into, carefully, also, respecting the right of, individuals. So those are some of the advocacy that I've done across Australia. So I do work closely with all the government, state and territory. I also sit in one of the umbrella, which is the Refugee Community Association in Australia, which I'm the current chair. I do have opportunity also to engage with the government on range of issues pertaining community here, settlement. And I always make a clear distinction that I'm here to speak on this particular issue. I'm aware that I do also hold this role somewhere here, but if this is a matter that is specifically related to this aspect, then I'll be very happy to have a special session around this matter. So I think these are conversations that even last month, we had a meeting with the Home Affairs about African matters. And it was a very good meeting, first meeting that actually I've seen them coming forward to talk to us. And I said, well, unless we have a reasonable conversation, nothing's really going to change, because every time we see policies being designed and just being posed to people, not necessarily posed, but otherwise, being implemented without a consultation, and none of those policies actually serve the interests of individuals who need services mostly. And we need to make sure that people actually we discuss those issues, and there's a gross range of consultation that being taken into account. That way, we can actually bring changes that are needed in the community. Otherwise, we will continue to take that tokenism approach, which will never really produce any outcome.
Yeah,
so
that
this has
hasn't
been
served.
always,
It hasn't served much of our communities. Now, is the Tasmanian government very proactive in working with African communities in general, and the community council in particular, or even your own community association, the South Sudanese, does the Tasmanian government do a lot in the way of coming to support the community to address challenges and access, opportunities that are available in the state?
Yeah, Tasmania government is a really good. I've worked closely from the time that I've been here. They're very, very supportive. I've seen communities actually growing, depending on what they're doing. I spoke with one of the minister for finance, who is also minister for, I think, for infrastructure. Not long ago, I think last week, we caught up in another function, and I always talk about the African, community and how great people are doing, and how we could make their life here better. And he was very, very keen actually to say, well, come to my office. I will be very happy to actually push this through the parliament, whatever you guys need. The premier is also very supportive of, they want to see the council. I think the challenge is now up to us, because the council has failed in the past, and we don't want to present another failed case again. I think we have to get it right this time. So that's one of the things that we are currently working on, to make sure that by the time we re-emerge for the relaunching of the council, already we have a very strong leadership. We also have a strong governance structure. We all have those quality that is required for us to be seen as a very authentic community organization, and branding, the council name, and also speaking one language other than speaking two languages. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. Tell us about entrepreneurship in Tasmania from African communities. What's happening in that area? If people live in paradise, I'm sure they're making a lot of money over there.
Unfortunately, when people are living in paradise, people forget that they need to work hard. This is another challenge. I think a lot of people kind of, have this idea that, once you go to school, you graduated, you get employment, of course you will be working. So that's kind of like a done deal. But for me, I sort of, see life is always challenging. Obviously, can work. I mean, I work in the Department of Health myself. I work in a mental health, one of the most challenging area, which I enjoy because I like challenges. But then I also think of, okay, what are the opportunities here, especially if you are looking at the community? How can we help people? Because there's that element of, helping for free, and then things as life, cost of living goes up, then we need also to be more proactive. So there are few people who are doing businesses. I think a lot of people in the past, they were doing like, there's this what they called, I think, family daycare. That used to be the main one, but then there were again a lot of issues with that. I think people are not meeting the regulatory requirement. Then a lot of them were shut down. So far, there are only very, very few people. I know that there is one shop in Hobart, quite very popular. I think there were three. One is owned by Congolese. The other one is owned by a Kenyan. So those are the only familiar shops that we have. So far, we don't have restaurant here yet. I saw another lady from Sierra Leone opened recently African restaurant here in where I live in Launceston. I haven't made my way there yet, but these are opportunities that are happening. And there's also another Congolese lady who also started a restaurant in the other side of Launceston, the place called Ravenswood. So these are the few places. But I also started late last year. I started to think about what I can do. So I never really, thought of what I would do. But then something just came into my mind that I need to change life. So I started venturing into a technology. So I started creating a business. I created a business. It's called Piri Piri Marketing Hub. So design website, a brand website from scratch, and also modified website, design logos from scratch. So it's been going well. I've been getting actually clients from our community, and
Mm.
I've been doing a great work with them. So I've been getting a regular feedback that are really good. People are telling me, "Oh, this is really good." So I'm starting to carry. I will have a past webinar just to connect with the people and also tell people about things that sometimes we don't know about the digital world, challenges that people face in their daily life. So that's one thing that I decided to do. So I am very passionate always about helping people in a different way. But I think I'm here to help our community at different level. It's a low cost. And if people want to know about more, if they have a businesses that don't have a good website, if they have a problem that need anytime, let them feel
Yeah.
free. Just prepare marketing hub. I will be able to help them. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's all we've got for time today. I know that there's a lot of things that we'd want to be able to talk about in relation to the life and issues and challenges and opportunities of African Australians in Tasmania. But this is just the beginning. We hope to have some regular conversation with you about what is happening in Tasmania, so you can update us, so that the rest of the African Australian community around the country will be aware and know that there is actually a lost paradise overseas. It's when we in Victoria we say Tasmania is overseas because it's on the other side of the sea.
Well, it's a pleasure talking to you, and indeed, there's a great opportunity that Tasmania is a paradise, and
Yeah.
would like to invite many people to come here and see how lovely Tasmania is. Yeah.
All right. So
All
people,
right.
you are encouraged. If you are not in lockdown, go and visit Tasmania. Juma Piripiri will be more than happy to help you to visit, paradise. And when you come back, you can tell us the story. Thank you very much, Juma, for your time tonight. And we appreciate that. We know you're busy with family and business and everything, but you took the time to speak to us. So we appreciate that. And we'll look forward to another opportunity in the future to discuss.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for doing the wonderful job. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. And for those who've been watching, we say thank you again for staying with us for the full hour. We appreciate your time as well. As usual, we'll encourage you to share this video, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click that notification button, because it means that every time we go on air, you'll be automatically notified. Also, like our Facebook page, because we post all of our production, our publications rather, on both Facebook and on our website. And if you have something that you would like to be able to share with the community, if you have some expertise or some role you're playing or some good story that can inspire others, well, we invite you to contact us so that we can potentially give you an opportunity to share that with the community. Until next time, stay blessed and stay safe. Thank you very much.